Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In the last video, we have set up the project with Angular 8 with the .NET Core 3.1. And in this video, I will be showing you the CRUD application using the same Angular 8 with the .NET Core 3.1. And in this video, you will learn how to create an page and form, how to read the data from the database, how to update the data, and obviously how to delete the data. So this will be an employee management system which will be having a validations. And so let's start with that. Firstly, for that we will be setting up the database and the tables for that. So let's go and create the database here. So here I will just rename create a database with the SDB name. So let's create it. So as you see, the database is created. Now we'll be creating tables here. For that I have a script ready made for you, so even you can find the script in the description. So what we will be doing here is we'll be creating an employee table here. As you see, we will be creating cities table, and then we will be adding the data in the cities table. So let's go ahead. So this is what we have created a TBL employee table and then TBL cities table, and then we added a data. So here we are. So let's refresh our table so that I can show you quickly that the tables we have created. So this is a table cities, TBL cities, where we'll be storing the cities of the employees, and then this is the TBL employees where we'll do our CRUD operations like creating the employee, reading the employee, deleting the employee, and updating the employee. So now you have seen that we have set up the database and tables. After that, let's go to our application that we created in the last video. Here now the first step is we will be adding the models to this application. Model means the tables and the database that we have created in SQL Server. Will be using that here as a part of models. For using that, we need to first install the entity framework packages. So for that we will be going here to the manage NuGet packages. So firstly, for database provider, so as we are using the SQL Server, so we will be installing database provider package. So that is basically Microsoft but entity framework core .SQL Server. So I can find the package here. So this is the packages. Let's go and add the package here. So here I have installed the package. After that we'll be using one more package which will be entity framework core.tools. That is necessary for using the entity framework tools, that will create our model in the application. So as we see, this is already created first package, and then the second package is uh, Microsoft framework core tools. So here's the second package. So let's go and install this package. So this both two packages are necessary to deal with the entity framework and installing the models and using the database operations in our applications. So here you will see, first of all, both the packages are installed in the output folder. Now the next step after it is we can go to the console here, right? In the console we'll be adding, we'll be scaffolding our tables into that application. Using that command, our model folder will be created, and in that model folder you will see a context and the both two tables definitions. So let's see that. So even I have the command ready for you. So this will be our this information you can find in the links description as well. So the command is scaffold db context your connection string here. This is we are using Microsoft entity framework core.SQL server, the package that we have installed now, and we want the model folders to be created, and the tables that we want is TBL employee and the TBL cities. So here you will be writing here your connection string, whatever will be your local or the server thing you will be installing here. So as you see, my connection string is this. So let's I can show you here. So So here is my connection string. So don't forget to put your connection string here. So scaffold db context Microsoft Framework Core output model. Model will be our folder. Then we are tables. So let's change the connection string a bit. So we'll be using dot slash SQL Express. Database is our test DB now. As you have seen, we have created a test DB database. So let's hit enter here. So here you will see, immediately the command is executed, and then we it created automatically a model folder where we'll check, where we'll see, tblct is created, a class is created for both the tables, and then there is a db context as well for that model. So this was a step to basically set up the model, database and table for your application. The next step will be creating a data access layer to deal with the database operations like creating, reading, updating and delete. So let's go and create a new folder here. We'll call it a data access folder. So as you see, the data access folder is created. We'll be creating a new class here. So that will be our class for all the database operations. So let's say I named it as the data access employees dot css, or we can say da and da implies. So let's add it. So we have a class already created for da employees. Here we will be creating our first method, which will actually here we will be reading the employees, all the readings. So basically we are listing all the employees. That will be our first operation, reading all the employees from the database. So here I will create a new method very quickly. So as method we will be returning all from the tbl employees. So this will be our the table function name will be get tbl employees. Even let's say get all employees, right? And tbl employees, for that you need to basically use the models class, as these are in the model your folder. So we'll be using the namespace as well for the models. So using namespace and then dot model, project name dot model. So here we will be doing try and then catch. So let's return the data. Returning the data, we need to first of all create an object for our context. So our context name was test db context. So let's go ahead and create the object of this. So db context here, the object, and then equal to new db context. So we have a db context now for this class. So using that context, we'll be calling our tbl employees. So here is a table to list. So all our employee data will be returned from this get employee table. Similarly, after that read operation, we'll be creating more methods which will be dealing with the database, like updating, creating and deleting. So for now we have created a list operation that's in the db class. Access layer class, our next step will be creating a controller. So let's go and add a controller. So here I'm selecting MVC empty controller. There we can say this is an employee management system we are building, so this will be an employee controller. So it will take some seconds to create a controller class for you. So once the controller class is created, we'll be creating method here to read our data from this data access class that we created. So you see the employee controller is created. Now in the very first method, like let's not use the index method, use our own method like public. What we want is we want all the employees thing. So we will be using returning same tbl employees here. Is not giving in the intelligence because we need to use the exact namespace for that. So using models, so here it added that thing here. So what we can say is get all employees. So as you know that we already created a data access layer, so we need to actually create an object for that here. So we created now the object for the DB class that we created, which is dealing with the database. So here we'll simply say the DB class dot get all employees. That's it. So what we just need to return it. So this is our method is ready. We'll write http get here as this will become our API. So this will be an http call here. So http get, because it's a get operation, and then we'll define the route for this method. So the route will be, let's say we can fix the route be like API slash employee and then slash index. So this will be our first uh, call to this API, and then for this function we can comment it or just delete it. So we have a data access layer where we are fetching the results from the database, and then controller is calling the data access class to get all the results from that. So now we have set up the database, created a data access layer, employee controller, and then we'll use services here. So this will be a part of now Angular 8. So as I've shown you in the last lecture, in the last video, we have client tab is an Angular project. So firstly, we'll create the services here. So to give you a brief introduction on the services are typically class. Basically, it can be used for many purposes. Like now we are creating a service for reading our data from the controller or from the server, you can say, which is .NET Core. So let's go and create services folder here. So it should be in the src. So here we have created the services. Let's go and add the class there. So new item, and then we'll be using TypeScript class here. So this is our TypeScript. So why we are making services for employees? So I will write is as employees dot service dot ts. So this is our service now. Let's start and add the code in our service here. So we'll create a service, name it as an employee service class. So employee service. So this is our employee service class. Here firstly we'll take a variable here which will be app URL. It will be in type of string here, and in start I will pass this empty, and then we will create a constructor here. In that constructor we'll be going to create some of the objects as a private. So first object will be http object. So http object which will be from http client. So as you've seen, when I hit enter, it automatically include the namespace for that. So this was for the http object for making the http request. And then another variable which is used here, it will be we'll be using base URL. We'll be setting the base URL for the API calls. So we'll say base URL, and then we'll name the variable as a base URL, and it will be in the string. So inject, for inject, we included that .NET Core even namespace. So we are ready to, constructor is ready. In that constructor we'll be setting our base URL in here. So this is how we can set the base URL in the constructor. Now the turn is to create the model for our employees. So let's say create a new class which will be employee data model. So employee data model, we'll passing here some of the variables like properties like employee ID. It will be number, and then name of an employee, it will be in string. Then forget to put semicolon here. Okay, so after name we'll be putting here variable like gender. So let's say gender, and then cities. So as you have seen that we have taken the table of cities and inserted data there, so we'll using that variable, and populating the values here in this variable. So city is one of the variable, and then property. So another is a department. That's it. So this is our employee data model is created here. Now we'll use this employee model. So let's start with the function where we'll be reading all the data from the call, controller call. So this will be our get all employees. So get all employees will be function, and that function will be returning observable of employee data model that we created, and here we'll say return, and from where it will return is this dot our HTTP object, and in that object we'll say dot get method, and in that we'll say this dot app URL. We'll append it. So what we'll append it here is, so we'll append is the route that we have taken in the controller. So this is a route that we have taken in the controller. So let's append this here. So we got an error here. To fix this error, we'll be returning employee data model here, and then our service is created. Hold on, maybe that's okay, no problem. So you can see our service is totally created, where we have a constructor which is setting the base URL, and then we have a get all employees method which will be calling controller and then returning the data. The data will be in this object, the employee data model that we have created here. So this is all about the services. So next we'll discuss about the components. So as you all know that the components are like the building blocks of the Angular application. So let's create the component first. So I will right click on this client tab, and here we'll open the command prompt. So we are in the location of the client tab. So what we'll do is we'll create the component. So for that we will use ng-g. G is for generate and C is for component. ng-g, ng-g, and then create component. The name of the component will be employee, and we want to create it in the app folder. So here we go. So we see we hit the command. You see all the commands. This command runs successfully, and all those necessary files are created. Let's come here, and you will see the employee folder created. So when opening this, you will see 4 files. One is a CSS file, HTML file, specs.ts file, and the component file. So this is a component file where our logic will reside. Let me give you a first look of the component that is generated here. This is a class for component, and there is a constructor and the ng-init function. So let's go and create one method to fetch all the employees. So get all employees will be our method, and here we want to return the so let's say we say that we want to return this dot. So firstly we'll create an object for service here. Before that we will be going to create a variable that will be public. Let's say emplaced here, which will be emplaced will be, you can say, will become from employee data model. So as I hit employee data model, you will see that all those model is basically namespace is configured automatically here. So now we have a variable which will be emplaced here, and then in the constructor we'll be going to create a private object for the services. So private service employee colon, so our service is employee service. So we are done. Now we say that this dot service employee dot that all employee. So this is our employee method. Dot subscribe. So let's write here, so lambda expression. So whatever will be returned, we will be put that in this dot temp list variable. So is equal to data. So this is all about the component here. Next we'll go and create the HTML for that. So here within the HTML, first of all we'll write heading tag here, where we'll write employee management page, and then we'll write a paragraph for description. So this page will contain the read, update, delete, and create features. Now we'll create a div. This div will be created for loading. So whenever we'll say like ng if, so the variable that we have taken in our service, so this is a variable that we have taken in our service, in component, sorry. So this amp list, so here we'll provide that. So in case the amp list data is not present, it will keep on loading, displaying the loading message, and in case where it has the data, will be showing something. So let's say this is records, so tables, so table ng if, so ng if amp, so same variable amp list. So when data is not present, it will keep on showing the loading, and when data is present, it will be presenting us a table. So in that table we'll firstly create the t head, and then we'll create tr. In that we will create headings. So firstly will be for employee id. Same we'll create for the other ones, like the t head will be for employee name, then another one for gender, next will be for cities, and then the last will be for department. So that's it. Now after the t head, we'll be writing t body for that. In that t body, we'll writing an tr. So in that tr, we'll apply a loop. Basically for that Angular loop, we'll use ng for, and we'll write let amp of same the amp list. So here in that we'll be creating tds. Firstly we'll create td, and we'll populate amp dot. So in service we go and copy this amp id. So here we'll display the amp id. Same we'll copy this for the other ones. Okay, let's copy the other variables. So we'll be displaying name in the second column, and in the third column it will be gender. Second will next one will be for cities. So yes, for cities, and the last one will be for department. So here we're going to display the department. So that's it. We are ready with the HTML. Let's check the files. So this is our HTML, where we are showing loading in case the data is not present, and populating the table in case the data is present. That's fine. In service, this is our model. This is methods. We can change this base, so it will be base underscore URL. Okay, here we go. So let's start it. Sorry, before that we'll go to app module. So we need to register some of the settings, like in the provider we'll write we'll create employee service. So we write employee service here. Apart from this, will be passing route for that component that we have created. So the component was employee component, and then we'll say this will be for employee data. So we registered that, and this is employee component. So this is our emp data will be our route. So we'll go to the navigation class quickly, and here we will be copying a creating a new li item for employee management page. So a new link for employee management, and here the route that we created, route name, will be putting over here. So this is the nav bar setting. So we added a link and another extra link for that. Okay, so and then in the app.module.ts we created a route for our component, and then in providers we define our services, and HTML we define our all the layout in service. This is in component. So also we need to call the get all employees method here. So this is what I have written. So let's remove that column. So let's test the application. So as you see, we have in this video we have learned how to create the components, service, and how to basically fetch the data from the database. So now it's the time to see the output. Let's check that. So as you see now, it has loaded the page, hello world page. The link that we have created in the nav bar is here now. Let's click on that. So it says loading. Now it's there is no data. So let's go to the database and add one record in the database in a table, which was employee table. So what I will do is I will create a new record. So let's say Dinesh, city will be New Delhi, and then department will be IT, gender is male. So here we go. For more records, let's say John, city will be again New Delhi, IT, male. So let's go and maybe try now. So you see this is now the data is fetched here. What we are missing here is let me go to employee page here, and here let's give a class table so that we can see the data properly. So it's loading up again, and then we can see the data is now showing properly. So this was all about fetching the data from the database using Angular 8 with the .NET Core 3.1. Further, we will be discussing about updating the data, creating the data, adding a record in the database, updating, deleting, and editing the record. So stay in tune. Thanks guys.